Isolde wakes on the second night with black veins spreading up her arm. She has 24 hours before hollowing begins. The darkness of her chamber pressed against her eyelids like a held breath. Isolde surfaced into it slowly, consciousness arriving in fragments, the weight of the velvet canopy above her, the cold silk beneath her fingers, the particular quality of pre-dawn stillness that meant the night had not yet released its hold. She lay still for a moment, letting her eyes adjust to the shapes of her prison, the faded portraits of dead Voss women staring down from their frames, the heavy curtains that seemed to devour light rather than block it. Then she felt it. A wrongness in her left arm, not pain, but something worse, a numbness that spread like winter creeping across a lake. She pushed herself up on her elbows, her breath catching as she turned her arm toward the faint grey light seeping through the narrow window. Black veins webbed across her forearm. Not the faint tracery from yesterday. This was grotesque, a lacework of darkness that seemed to pulse with its own malevolent rhythm. The edges were frost-touched, the skin around them pale as bone. She traced one line with a trembling finger and felt nothing, no sensation at all, as though that part of her arm had already begun to die. 24 hours. The number arrived fully formed in her mind, certain as prophecy. She had felt it the moment she woke, a knowledge that lived in her bones now, a countdown that ticked against her ribs. The chamber door opened before she could move. Her father crossed the threshold, a candle held high, and the moment he saw her face, his own changed. He was beside her in 3 strides, kneeling so that his knees cracked against the cold stone floor. "Father, I fear the curse has taken root." Her voice sounded small, a child's voice. "The veins, they're spreading." He reached for her arm, then hesitated, an infinitesimal pause that told her everything. His hand settled instead on her shoulder, the warmth of it shocking against her nightgown. She could feel the tremor in his grip, the conflict between his need to touch her and his fear of what that touch might cost. "Isolde, my child, there is still hope." He knelt closer, and in the candlelight she could see the lines that had deepened around his eyes overnight. "We must seek the counsel of the Ancient Ones before the hollowing begins." The Ancient Ones, the guardians who lived in the high tower, the ones who had sealed themselves away from the world centuries ago. She had felt their presence since arriving at Nachtmar, a weight in the very stones of the manor, a watching quality to the shadows. But the tower was 3 floors up, and the stairs were narrow. The manor seemed to resist movement through its halls. "But time is running out." She pressed her hand against her chest, feeling her heart hammer beneath her ribs. "The blackness consumes me, and I feel myself slipping away." It was true. With each moment she felt the hollowing pressing closer, like something breathing down the back of her neck. It wasn't pain, the curse was too refined for that. It was absence, a slow erosion of the things that made her her. Her thoughts felt slippery, her certainties wearing thin. Her father's jaw tightened. He stood pacing the width of the chamber in 3 quick strides, then turned back. "Then we don't waste a moment. I'll send word to the tower. They cannot refuse us now." "Can't they?" Isolde looked down at the black veins spreading across her skin. She watched them, trying to see if they were growing even now in this moment. "They've had 100 years to help the brides of Nachtmar. Why would they help me?" Her father didn't answer. Instead he moved to the window and threw open the heavy curtains. Pre-dawn light flooded in, and Isolde had to shield her eyes. When she lowered her hand, the black veins were clearer. Their progress had surpassed her wrist now, advancing toward her elbow. 24 hours. She could leave him. The thought arrived unbidden. Walk away before the hollowing takes me completely. That would be mercy. Mercy for herself, mercy for Alaric, mercy for her father, who was still pacing the chamber like a caged thing, his candle guttering with each movement. She clenched her fist, watching the black lines deepen under pressure. The edges of her fingers were going numb. "We'll break this," her father said, though whether he was speaking to her or to himself she couldn't tell. "The Ancient Ones will know something, a ritual, a countermeasure, something we haven't come this far to—" He stopped. Isolde heard it too. A sound from somewhere deep within the manor, a bell perhaps, or a chime, something resonant and old, calling from the heights of the tower. The dust motes hanging in the air seemed to still at the sound, as though the manor itself had paused to listen. Her father's hand fell to his side. The candle dripped wax onto the stone floor, a small insistent sound in the sudden quiet. "They've heard us," he whispered. Isolde looked down at her arm again. The black was spreading, patient and inevitable as dawn. She had 24 hours to find a way to stop it, to find a cure, to find anything that might save her from becoming like the gardener. A hollow shell, animated by something that wasn't quite human anymore. 24 hours to save herself. Or to decide if saving herself was even possible.